أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Viewers, welcome to the program Our Pledge. This program brings you deeper insight into initiation into Islam Ahmadiyya, the true Islam. Last week on the program, we discussed the second condition of initiation into Islam Ahmadiyya, which was falsehood, doing away with falsehood. On the program, we learned about so many things that an Ahmadi is forbidden to do. Today, we shall look at the third condition of initiation into Islam Ahmadiyya. And to help us do justice to the program is Al-Hajj Ahmed Suleiman Anderson, Naib Amir 3 of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission Ghana. Naib Amir Sahib, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, my brother.
If you may start, can you please refresh us a bit of what we did last week?
Thank you once again. Last week, we discussed condition 2, like rightly said, and the condition 2 states that we should move away from falsehood, from adultery, from fornication, from trespassing of the eye, to debauchery, from mischief, cruelty, rebellion, and everything that will carry you away by way of passion, which will make you follow your fleshy desire. You would have to do away with it. And we dwelt a lot on the falsehood and adultery because of the linkage with shirk as well as hypocrisy and all other things involved. And we said that they were not exhaustive, but they were so major that if we were able to do away with those major sins, then the other minor ones will become easy to avoid. And we particularly dwelt on the fact that falsehood has become the root of all evil. And once one is able to do away with falsehood, he'll be able to overcome all other form of ills. And that politicians particularly, and Ahmadis who are yearning to become or are supposed to become the leaders of the world are to champion this cause of telling the truth, because truth will take them to virtue, and virtue will, inshallah, take them to paradise. In the program last week, you talked about trespassing of the eye. I'm so particular about that one. Can you please tell us a bit about that one? Yes, trespassing of the eye, like I said, means that one should cast his eyes down or restrain his looks, or one should observe chastity. You do not look at things that you are not supposed to look at. And so even if suddenly you are confronted with something that you are not supposed to look at, what you have to do is immediately cast your eyes down rather than be developing interest in looking at it. There is a story of one man who was looking through the pages of a magazine and seeing things that he was not supposed to see. But he opened the first page. What he did was to say, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. But after saying Astaghfirullah, instead of the person closing the book and throwing it away, he went on, opened the second page, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. He saw things that he was not supposed to see. And he kept on, the third page, the fourth page, up to the end of the book. He looked at every page and everything in every page and said Astaghfirullah. What is the meaning of that? Doesn't that mean that a person is not, observing powder here? He is not restraining his looks. He is not casting down his eyes. If you didn't know, if you claim you didn't know the content of the book, once you open the first page and see that what is there, you are not supposed to look at what is there, then you immediately put it away. But going on, flipping through page to page up to the end of the book and saying Astaghfirullah will not solve the problem.
So he will not be forgiven?
Let us not talk about forgiveness here. Forgiveness is for Allah. Allah knows when He will forgive and whomsoever He will forgive. That is Allah's attribute. But we only learn from the advice that we should not do this. And so if you should not do it and you are intentionally doing it, then it is something else. I can only say that it's a sin you are committing. As to whether Allah will forgive you or will not forgive you, that will depend on your intention for doing so and what you did thereafter. So that is how I want to put it.
Thank you for refreshing us over what we did last week. Now, what's the third condition of initiation to Islam, Ahmed?
Great. After one has gone through the numerous forms of sins, and that you would want to, or you have to move away from them, the third condition is saying is that the initiate shall observe, the compulsory 5 times daily prayers according to the command of Allah and according to the instructions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that the initiate will do his or her very best in even observing tahajjud. In other words, the voluntary prayer, that's what we call the pre-dawn prayer. It is voluntary, but you will do your very best to observe those prayers also very, very regularly. And that the initiate will not end there, but will continue to do his very best to invoke blessings on the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is durud, seeking the blessings of Allah upon him. And then the initiate will also continue as much as possible to ask for forgiveness at all times in his prayers. He will be very regular and particular in asking for forgiveness of sins. He will not end there, but he will continue to sing praises of the Almighty, praise His name, and then glorify, His name. So all these are put together as a third condition where the initiate is expected to observe, and he will observe till he breathes his last.
You've spoken about observing the 5 daily prayers, observing tahajjud, and invoking praises on the prophets of Islam and also on Allah. What does one benefit from doing all this?
Even before we talk about the benefits, let us look at, I said that we do so by Allah's command. So what is Allah's command here? That Allah says that every man and woman, including children who are aged 10 and above, must establish salat, must observe salat at their appointed times. In other words, there are 5 daily prayers, and they must observe them. And they must observe them in congregation and observe them in the mosque. So these are the commands that Allah has given. And so the initiate, or the one who has become an Ahmadi Muslim, is making it his or her duty consciously that at all appointed times of salat, he or she will walk or move to the mosque and perform this salat in congregation with others. Now, you talked about the benefits. If you go to the mosque and perform salat in congregation, the Holy Prophet has said that if you say salat in congregation, you earn the blessings 27 times. Some hadiths say 25 times. As against you saying the salat alone in your house or wherever. So that Going to the mosque to say the salat, you are getting 27 times the benefits that you would have got if you had said your prayer alone in the house. Apart from that, going to the mosque, one of the things that comes out is that you will meet other people. People in your community, either you didn't know or you know, but you have seen them for a while. Because you meet regularly at the mosque, you get to meet such people. You are able to interact. You are able to find out, how each other is faring. To the extent that if you constantly go to the mosque and then you do not see one person once or twice or thrice, it should dawn on you that what is happening to my brother or my sister, that for the past 3 days or so, I have not seen him or her. This consciousness will lead you to move to go and look for him, either in his house to find out maybe the person is sick and maybe the person needs help. So you going there will now be able to tell what kind of help the person needs and then be able to help if you can. Even if you cannot, at least you will convey the message back to the mosque that I went to my brother so-and-so's house, I found him to be ill, or I found him to be in a certain condition that requires that the entire Jamaat
assist him.
Goes to his aid. So this, apart from happening to your friend or your neighbor, could happen to you as well. So that if you are also unable to go to the mosque, the same thing, other brethren can come look for you to find how you are faring. So that it connects us, it makes us one whole, it makes us one community. And going to the mosque, another benefit is also to be admonished by the Imam. We get there and we listen to the word of advice, we listen to the word of God, and these words of God or piece of advice are what will shape our lives. Because our only purpose on this earth is to worship Allah. And worshiping Allah is mainly through the performance of salat. So that doing it regularly, is to fulfill the objectives by which Allah Almighty created us. So it comes with a number of benefits.
You mentioned about going to the Salah in your community. Let's say I stay about 2 kilometers away from where the mosque is, and I say my prayers alone. Do I also enjoy the benefit people who go to the mosque enjoy?
You cannot, you say your salat alone in your house, you will earn benefits, all right. But I've said that the benefit is say once. And if you say it with others, you are getting 25 or 27 times. So which one is better? So the 2 kilometers might not necessarily be an excuse. Especially in this modern day and age, there are means of movement. You can have a bicycle, a motorcycle, you can have a car. These things can easily convey you to the mosque. Even if you have to walk 2 kilometers to the mosque, I don't think that 2 kilometers is such a long distance that you cannot walk. But let us make it not our habit to be saying salat at home. I must agree that in cosmopolitan areas like Accra and big cities of the world, it is possible, and very, very possible, and in fact it is the case, that you might not find mosques nearby or Ahmadi mosques nearby, and therefore you are so to speak, do not have that advantage of going to the mosque and earning that number of blessings. But the question is, are you living in your house alone? Do you have a wife? Do you have children? Do you have other people you are living in the house with? Once you have people in your house and the mosque is in such a far away place that you are not able to go to the mosque regularly, then what you should be doing is to gather the people in your house, your children, your wife and your children, or whoever is living with you and is an Ahmadi. the few of you there can also make a congregational salat, at home, where you, the man, will be and the imam. Of course, you are the head of the family and you are the imam, and be the imam, lead them in salat, and earn the same blessings as people who are saying salat in a mosque. But in any case, the advantage of the person going to the mosque is that even the steps that the person is taking from his house or her house all the way to the mosque, those steps will also earn him or her some benefit. So naturally, saying your salat in a mosque and in the congregation is much more beneficial than saying salat at home, even if it is in congregation. Of course, if there is no nearby mosque, you cannot be blamed, because there is no nearby mosque where it's an established Jamaat and people converge there regularly. But like I've said, if you do not have that means, create it in your own home. Let your children see the need for you to become a Jamaat, however small that Jamaat, even if it is you and your wife alone without a child, it is still possible for you to lead your wife in salat. Or if it is you and your children alone, or one child alone, it is also possible to have that child by you and the two of you make a congregational prayer.
What about if you have no child and your wife is not a Muslim?
First of all, it's a big challenge that as a Muslim, your wife is not a Muslim. And I'm not saying that it is not possible, because people convert. If I did Bai'at, or I do Bai'at today and my wife doesn't, it doesn't mean that I should divorce her. And then, so in that case, yes, my wife is not a Muslim. I am a Muslim. And so even if I do not have anybody, at least there is an advice that even if you are on a highway and a journey you are going, or you are on the farm and it is time for salat, you just call the azan. You are saying your salat, but you call the azan and say your salat. Allah will send angels to join you once you have called azan. Allah will send angels to join you to say your salat, and you end the benefit. You see, everything that we do is bordered on the intention with which you are doing it. If you went to the farm and you are there alone and it is salat time, we are not saying that because of salat, leave your work, come home, and then go to the mosque and say the salat when you still have work to do on the farm. You can do so, but like I've said, call the azan, and then Allah will send angels to join you in saying the salat.
If you have people on the farm who are non-Muslims and they hear you calling azan at the time, would they say probably you are going out of your senses?
What is it that people have not said against prophets? Every prophet of Allah has been described as a madman one way or the other, including the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So what will be wrong or what will be so strange if by following the footsteps of the Prophet you are called a madman, when you know from your heart that you are not mad, when Allah knows that you are not mad, when your family members know that you are not mad. So you don't. These things should not bother you, because you are convinced in your heart and in your mind that you are doing what Allah has commanded you to do. Remember, that is what we said. You are performing salat according to the command of Allah. So if that is what Allah has commanded you to do, and in so doing people will call you mad, will Allah also call you mad? No, Allah wouldn't call you mad, and therefore you are in the right direction.
Well, viewers, you're still watching the program Our Pledge, and today we are looking at the third condition of initiation into Islam Ahmadiyya, which is Salat. Naib Amir Sahib, you spoke about saying prayers in congregation. Help us. Are Ahmadi Muslims allowed to say prayers with their other Muslim brothers in their mosque?
Sometimes I am confronted with this question by many Ahmadis. I think it is for lack of knowledge and proper education. You see, as an Ahmadi, you are a natural imam. Why? Because you have recognized the Messiah, the Mahdi, who is the imam of the age, and you are his follower. So you are the imam. How on earth that somebody who you have obeyed the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by recognizing the Mahdi and making Bai'at on his hand, you have obeyed Allah by accepting his messenger. How come that you, who now have the light, will now put your light somewhere and go and follow somebody else? Tell me, can a blind man lead you? The man who has sight. How can, without due respect, how can a blind man lead somebody who has sight? That is not possible. You as an Ahmadi, you have seen the light. You know the light. How on earth will you leave your community and join people who have not or have refused to obey the Prophet by making Bai'at on the hands of the messenger who has come as a subordinate prophet to the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? So as an Ahmadi, unless you are the Imam, if you an Ahmadi are the Imam in that mosque and others are following you, so be it. But it is not the right thing to do for an Ahmadi to be led by somebody who is not an Ahmadi. And these people who are not Ahmadis, what they do is to insult the Mahdi, is to insult the promised Messiah. So how can you, if your father, and I say this with all seriousness, if your father comes to see you eating from the same bowl with somebody who has always been insulting him, what do you think your father will think of you or do to you? Will your father be happy with you? For you to be eating from the same plate with somebody who constantly hails insult on your father, and it doesn't strike you to move away from that person, so that will become the fate of an Ahmadi who will go out to follow, particularly those non-Ahmadi Muslims who are so, so insulting, abusive, and all manner of things against the Prophet Muhammad, for you to go and follow them. So don't do so because you find that their mosque is the nearest to your house, and so because it's the nearest to your house, you go and join them. No, it is not. It is not right. I'm not saying that don't interact with them. I'm not saying that don't say salam to them. I'm not saying that don't sit down with them. But I'm saying that when it comes to the performance of salat, you are the imam. So unless you are the one leading the salat, then it doesn't become of you to go and follow somebody else who doesn't know or who is yet to see the light.
Well, you also spoke about invoking prayers on the Prophet of Islam.
Before we even come there, let me emphasize one more point, especially with regards to salat.
Okay.
That on the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said that on the Day of Judgment, the first question every Muslim will face is on the performance of salat. So that once you become successful in that first question, that you have said your salat the way you should say it, and correctly and at all proper times, and regularly, and Allah accept that is so, then all other things are likely to be successful to you. You are likely to be successful in all other judgments that will follow. But once you fail in salat, then the possibility exists that you are going to fail in so many other things that follow. So that it is so important to observe salat and observe it well. Again, the Holy Prophet Muhammad has said that if you have a stream running in front of your door or your house, and then you take bath in that stream 5 times a day, will there be ever death remaining on your body? The answer is no. And so the Prophet said that is the case of salat. If you say your salat 5 times daily, it's as if you are taking bath in a river 5 times a day, and you are not likely to find filth or dirt on your body. So will your soul be clean, so will your spirituality be increased if you observe 5 times daily salat. Yes, so the question of invoking blessings on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
and not on the Mahdi alayhi salam.
Yes, for every prophet, there is a prayer of say when the name is mentioned, and that includes the promised Messiah and Mahdi alayhi salam. That is why we say alayhi salam. Alayhi salam, meaning that may Allah's peace be upon him, or may Allah be pleased with him. Okay, and this is said to all prophets. Except the Holy Prophet one has an addition, and that was specifically taught by Allah. Allah says that He, Allah, and His angels, they invoke blessings on him. So He made it mandatory upon every Muslim also to invoke blessings on the Holy Prophet. That is why when we mention his name, we say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is the blessings we invoke. And then there is the root, apart from the Prophet, the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the other Prophet Allah has so much blessed is the Prophet Ibrahim Alayhi Salam. So we are saying that Allah should bless the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just as He blessed Hazrat Ibrahim and his people. So the Quran tells us that even the angels, together with Allah Himself, they invoke blessings on the Prophet. So it has been made compulsory and mandatory upon all Muslims that regularly we should be invoking blessings of the Almighty on the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It has become almost an obligatory thing to do. And when you do that, what you are in effect doing is also to call the same blessings on you. Because the Prophet says, when you send him those blessings, those prayers, he also returns your blessings and your prayers. Because Allah will make him hear, and he will also. So, in effect, you are also invoking blessings on yourself. So, doing it constantly is rather, as far as I'm concerned, it's rather to your own benefit. The individual who is doing that is to your own benefit rather than even the Prophet himself.
Now, we are hard pressed for time, but this particular condition requires Muslims to seek for forgiveness all the time. Does somebody have to sin and then go seek for blessings?
You see, when you are told to seek blessings, we are not saying that go and commit sin and then, when we are told to seek forgiveness, we are not saying that go and commit sin
and then you ask for forgiveness.
Come and ask for forgiveness. There are things we do that we do not even know that they are sins, but they are sins. And because we are not aware of most of them, that is why it is proper and becomes constant that at all times you seek forgiveness of sins. There are things you do unknown to you, they are sins. But then when even you have committed sin that you know of, yes, the thing to do is to repent. And once you repent, you come back, you ask for forgiveness, which will mean that you are not going to go back to those sins that you committed and then you have repented and then you have sought for forgiveness, or you are still seeking for forgiveness. So seeking for forgiveness is something that will always keep you alert, will always or constantly, because when in our prayer in the Surah Al-Fatiha, we say Hidina Surat Al-Mustaqim, we are asking Allah to guide us
on the right
path at all times. That is to say that Allah should protect us that we do not falter. But where for some reason you falter, yes, the forgiveness must be sought for. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you must go and commit sin before. Because I think, look, you've been taking steps. There are ants you are stepping on and are killing. They have not done any harm to you, but you are killing them by mere fact that you are also walking around. They are also living creatures.
Yes.
You are not supposed to cause harm to any creature of Allah, but you do so unintentionally sometimes. So yes, asking for forgiveness or seeking istighfar is a constant feature of every believer and must be observed as such.
Your final words, we are hard pressed for time.
Thank you. And along the line, we also talked about even tahajjud,
yes.
Saying pre-dawn prayers. That is also something that we would encourage, that Ahmadi Muslims do it, because it affords you the opportunity to engage in personal conversation with Allah. You can spend all the time that you have, in prostration, in whatever position, and communicate with your God. Sometimes when you are in a congregational prayer with others in the compulsory salat, you might not have that time to be able to tell Allah what is it that you want Him to do for you. But when you go into such voluntary prayers, particularly the tahajjud, you are able to communicate well and at length in a manner that you want with the Almighty. So I would encourage that people should make it part and parcel of them. They should start by one. If you start one day, once a week, you will grow to twice a week, you will grow to thrice a week, and it will become a regular feature of your life. So that is the piece of advice I would want to give to Ahmadis and all Muslims.
We are so grateful, Naib Amir, for coming on the program. We hope to meet again some other time.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Well, viewers, this fair time will allow us for today on the program. Today, we looked at the third condition of initiation into Islam, to Islam Ahmadiyya, which is Salat. I was joined on the program by Naib Amir III of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission Ghana, Al-Hajj Ahmed Suleiman Anderson. Till we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kamantung kabatuahi na venkumoye. Kamantung kabatuahi na venkumo. Kamantung kabatuahi na venkumo. Nana.